How are you guys doing? Today is Sunday, December 11th, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to look at the 2022 College Football Award winners now that this 2022 season has come to an end. This season has had some highs and some lows. Going into bowl season, we are going to see Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and Ohio State face off for a chance. They'll face off in the college football playoff for a chance at the college football championship, which will be won in 2023. But of course, looking at the individual players who were able to rise to the very tops of their positions, I'm going to look through them all one by one and look at their seasons. Starting with the player that would win the Heisman Award, as well as the Walter Camp Player of the Year, the AP Player of the Year, and the Maxwell Award for being the best college football player would go to Caleb Williams. The sophomore who would initially come out of Washington, D.C., would play his freshman season with Oklahoma, as when Lincoln Riley would get the USC coaching job, he would take Caleb Williams with him. And in Caleb Williams' first season, he would go on and finish with 13 games played, all starts, for a USC team that would finish with an 11-2 record, go all the way to the Pac-12 championship and lose to Utah by 23 points. However, Caleb Williams would go on and complete about 66% of his passes. He would throw for 4,075 yards, combining for a total of 4,447 total yards of offense. Alongside his only 4 interceptions, he would throw 37 touchdowns and rush for 10, as his 47 total touchdowns are combined for the most touchdowns in USC history. Looking forward, USC's next game is going to be in the Cotton Bowl Classic versus 14th ranked Tulane. Looking at the player who was rated the best defensive player of this year, the Chuck Benedrick Award for the best defensive player would go to Will Anderson Jr., the linebacker from Alabama. Coming off of a sophomore season that would see him finish with 31 tackles for loss and 17.5 sacks, Will Anderson Jr. would play 12 games for an Alabama team that would finish with a 10-2 overall overall record this year, after their 2 losses would come in crunch time against Tennessee and against LSU. However, in this season, Will Anderson would finish with 51 total tackles. He had 17 tackles for loss with 10 sacks. He would also go on and record a pick 6 as he prepares himself for an Alabama bowl game, as they will face off in the Sugar Bowl against 11th ranked Kansas State, as Alabama is currently the 5th ranked team in America. And of course, Will Anderson has a really good chance of being the number 1 player taken off the board in the 2023 NFL Draft. Congratulations to him. The Davey O'Brien Award, given to the best quarterback in college football, would be given to Max Duggan. The senior for TCU would start the season not even having the full starting job. Max Duggan would lead TCU to his first 12-0 regular season finish in over a decade, as they would go on and lose by a field goal in overtime in the Big 12 championship to Kansas State. However, this season, Max Duggan would go on and finish this year completing 65% of his passes. He threw for 3,321 yards. He would combine for 3,725 total. He would finish with 30 touchdowns through the air, as he threw 4 interceptions. He had 6 touchdowns on the ground to give him 36 total touchdowns on the year. TCU will go into the college football playoff to face off against 2nd-ranked Michigan in the Fiesta Bowl. So, of course, many eyes are going to be on that game, as the winner of that game will go to the college football championship. Of course, moving on to the player that was given the Remington Award for the top center in the nation, it was given to Olusegun Oluwatimi. The senior center from Michigan would go on and play the last 3 seasons at Virginia after playing his first season at Air Force. Last year, Oluwatimi would be a finalist for this reward. However, this year he would go on and win it, helping lead Michigan all the way to the national title game, of course, with an undefeated 13-0 record after they would destroy Ohio State in Ohio State, and they would beat Purdue by 21 in the Big Ten championship game. In addition to being a first-team All-American this year at center, he would also go on and win the Outland Trophy for being the best interior lineman after he gave up no sacks and maybe just 2 pressures this season for Michigan. This year, the Doak Walker Award for the best running back in the nation will go to Bijan Robinson. The junior running back from the University of Texas would finish with 1,580 rushing yards, making it his second straight college football season with over 1,000 rushing yards specifically. He had 18 rushing touchdowns in 12 games, averaging 3 touchdowns every 2 games. He would go on and finish with 314 yards through the air and 2 receiving touchdowns, the most receiving yards he would have in a collegiate season. He would finish the year with 1,894 yards from scrimmage, as he would have 20 total touchdowns on the year. Of course, he is eligible to join the draft. He would finish this season with Texas with an 8-4 record. Their last game would end in a 11-point win over Baylor, as in that particular match, Bijan Robinson had 180 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game, just in that game alone as an example. Texas's next game will be against 12th ranked Washington on December 29th in what is going to be the Alamo Bowl, so a lot of eyes are going to be on that game. This year's award winner for the John Mackey Award for the best tight end in the nation will go to Brock Bowers. He was a freshman on the national championship winning Georgia Bulldogs last year, and this year as a sophomore, he would finish with 726 total yards and 6 touchdowns through the air. He also had 3 rushing touchdowns to give him 819 yards and 9 total touchdowns from scrimmage. He would help UGA finish with a 13-0 record, as they are going to go into the college football playoff and face off against 4th-ranked Ohio State at the Peach Bowl. So, of course, congratulations to him. This is the first time that he's won the John Mackey Award after making the first team All-SEC for what would be the 2nd year in a row. Moving on to the Biletnikoff Award given to the best wide receiver, it would be given to Jalen Hyatt. The junior wide receiver at Tennessee would finish with 1,267 receiving yards after having just 226 his sophomore year. While playing 12 games, he would finish with 15 touchdowns, averaging 5 touchdowns for every 4 games he played, as Tennessee would finish this season with a 10-2 record. They will go into bowl season and face off against 10th-ranked Clemson in the Orange Bowl, as Tennessee is currently the 6th-ranked team in the nation. Looking at the top defensive back in the nation, the Jim Thorpe Award would be given to Travius Hodges-Tomlinson. The senior cornerback at TCU would play 13 games in his second full year as a starter for a TCU team that would finish this season with a 12-1 record. They would lose the Big 12 championship game to Kansas State, but they still are going to qualify for the college football playoff, as they're going to face off against 2nd-ranked Michigan at the Fiesta Bowl on New Year's Eve. In this particular season, Travius Hodges would finish with a total of 42 tackles, just 1 more than he had the year prior. He had 2 tackles for loss. He would finish with 3 interceptions off of 11 passes defended, and he would go on and force a fumble and help TCU make it into the college football playoff for the first time in their history. Moving on to the top punter in the nation, the Ray Guy Award would go to Adam Korsak out of Rutgers. In his senior season, he would average about 44 yards a punt, after Rutgers as a football team would finish with a 4-8 overall record. They are not going into bowl season to face off against somebody. This year's Lou Groza Award, which was given to the best kicker in the nation, would be given to Christopher Dunn. The senior kicker from North Carolina State would make all 30 of his extra point attempts. He made all of his extra point attempts in all 5 of his years playing at North Carolina State. He would go 24 for 25 on his field goals this year. This would be the only season in his collegiate career that he would make over 90%, as he made 96% of them. He did this for a North Carolina State team that would finish with an 8-4 record this year. Going into bowl season as the 25th ranked team in the nation, they're going to face off against unranked Maryland in Duke's Mayo Bowl. So that is that award. And then last but not least, looking at the Coach of the Year, it would be given to Sonny Dykes. Sonny Dykes is in his first season coaching at TCU, and in this particular season, he would go on and help TCU finish with a 12-1 record to end the season, after they would lose the Big 12 championship by a field goal to 11th-ranked Kansas State. And of course, considering he was coaching at SMU last season, the fact that he's leading TCU to the college football playoff, I would say, is very impressive. So with that said, I want to congratulate all the college football award winners, congratulate all the ones that have won in the past, and get ready to see all the ones that come in the future. But with that said, today is December 11th, 2022. I want to thank everyone for listening, and I want to thank the College Football Reference websites, even just like the college football websites of the teams and the NCAA website itself. Of course, I would not be able to come up with all of this information and all these statistics by myself. And with that said, I want to thank everyone for listening. I hope all is well, and I will catch you with more tomorrow. Thanks for listening to my piece. This is The Elite. Peace out.